Hey guys, Tough Love Tiffany. Today we're back to advice. What I want to discuss is a little bit of a long discussion. So we may be breaking this up over the next few episodes. I'm not exactly sure how long it's going to take, so bear with me. What I want to discuss is friendships. So usually my friends will come to me with advice, questions, and usually those questions either revolve around relationship problems or friendship problems. Those are the majority of my friends' problems. So I figured I would take this episode and the next few to discuss friendships and the troubles that can come with being friends with people. We all have a multitude of friends. We have our childhood friends, we have our college friends we met like in our late teens, early 20s. We have our work friends. We have friends that we met in our clubs that we have, such as our paint nights or our yoga class or our kickboxing class. Like we have so many types of friends, and each friendship that we have is unique. Every friendship has its own pros and cons, the quirks to each friendship, because everybody's different. I want to talk about our expectations that we have for these friends. Every friendship that you create, you go into it with a certain expectation because you as a person hold yourself to a certain regard of how you approach friendships. You might be that friend who's always punctual, who's always like checks in, who is kind of like the mama duck of your friend circle. Or you might be that friend who you're a little bit scatterbrained, you may show up late to every event. That's kind of me. I'm a little guilty of that. 15 minutes late to every event. You might be the friend who is really into planning. Everything has a date and time. You have a calendar. You're very organized. You might be that friend who's super laid back, go with the flow. You need your plans with your friends have to be spontaneous. All these things are fine. We all hold ourselves to these certain regards. However, we can't expect others to have those same values as us. And just because this person had those values originally when you met them doesn't mean they're always going to have them. For instance, a recent problem that a friend came to me with was that they have a childhood friend. This friend has been with them since as long as they can remember. They've always kind of been a certain way, but this certain trait has always kind of irked them. And that's just one of those things where it's like, well, you have this history with this friend. They're never going to change. You're going to just have to accept it. Like, that's just how they've always been. It'd be one thing if they just met you and you can't handle it and you're not invested in the friendship, so you can just like let the friendship die. But you have history with this person, and this person has always been this way. So you kind of just have to roll with it, you know? And if you can't roll with it, then you should probably talk to your friend. It's easier to talk to friends that you have more of a history with. So the best thing about friendships that have history is that when you do have a complaint about them, you can usually feel safe about telling them it. I mean, some friendships are based on avoiding conflict and a little bit of passive aggressiveness. But in general, if you have a history of somebody, you can talk honestly with them. So if your friend that you've known since you were 5 has always had this trait and it's driven you insane and you're an adult now and you can't handle it and you thought they would grow out of it, but they have not grown out of it, it might be time to talk with them about it and have a real discussion about what it is that bothers you. And then it's up to them to change it or not, and it's up to you to either move past it or not. You might call your friend out on it, and they might say, wow, you know, I never knew that I was like this. I'm really sorry, and they might change, and that's great. Like, your thoughts were received, and now they're changing it. Or they might be like, well, you know, this bothers me about you, and I've lived with it, in which case you might have to be just like, oh, okay, this is just how we are, but we're not going to end a friendship over it. So that's a good thing about friends who have history, is that usually they can receive your complaints, you can receive theirs, and you can move on. And as for the whole, well, if we met each other now, would we still be friends? That doesn't really matter, does it? Because you are friends. So I have certain friends that when we knew each other back in middle school or whatever, like we were a certain way, and over the course of time, we've gone down different paths, and we're not exactly the same. We have different views on things. We have different lifestyles. We live in different states, what have you, but we're still friends. So we have this connection, this history, and it's beautiful because no matter what, they have my back. So even though we might not agree on everything, they might disapprove of some of my lifestyle choices, or I might disapprove of some of theirs, we still love each other. And we're going to be friends forever because we were together in such a crucial moment in our development that nothing's going to break that. And that's the great thing about childhood friends. So that was pretty much what I wanted to get over in this first topic, is basically setting your own expectations for people, understanding that just because you are a certain way doesn't mean the other person's going to be a certain way, and being transparent with people and setting, if somebody oversteps a certain boundary or if somebody does something that you don't agree with, you should probably make them aware of it if you've known them for long enough. If it's a brand new friend that you just met, you might want to give them a little leeway until you build up enough of a history. Because if you just start like getting pissed off at them because they're not meeting some expectation that they didn't even know you had, that's a surefire way to end a friendship real fast. This episode is to get the point across that you need to learn to accept people for all of their flaws as well as all of the great things that they do for you. That's where I'm going to leave off for this episode. Next episode, what I want to talk about, I want to really go into what happens when you have a friend who doesn't meet your expectations on a bigger scale than just doing something that irks you. So that'll be next episode. So I hope this episode helped a little bit in getting over certain smaller problems with friends and how to open up a real discussion with them about the things that drive you crazy. So I will see you next week to talk about how to cope with people who don't really meet your expectations. So I hope you liked this video. If you did, please hit the like button. If you want to see more, please subscribe. If you have an advice question, please leave a comment. I also have my Facebook page, so if you'd rather send me a message on Facebook, you don't want it seen in the comments, please do that. I produce content every Tuesday, and I hope you have a great week, and I will see you next week. Bye.